So here we are. Just another video, right? This video is brought to you by Skillshare. In this video, I'm gonna get out of my comfort zone and do landscape photography and street photography with what I think is the best wide-angle lens from Fuji, which is the 16mm 1.4, and I put links in the description below. I hope you enjoy it. All right, today we're in Poznan and we're gonna climb the mountain here. I think this would be a good place to test the lens in a landscape environment. So even though landscape photography is really not my thing, I respect their grind. Es muy difícil.
La escalera del Kung Fu Panda.
Sí, Kung Fu Panda es muy fuerte. We're not even halfway. But when we get there, it's gonna be worth it. Still going strong. And if you haven't already, remember to subscribe and hit the bell so you'll get a notification once I upload and put myself through all this pain. This better be worth it. Okay, this means that we're getting close. Hola, amigo. Okay, this place is pretty nice. So here we are. Just another video, right? We're getting super close. We're here. So fucking easy. There was another dude with a GoPro and the sound, and it made the deet 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 sound, which means there's no battery on. But we're good. So this lens, the 16mm 1.4, is like, I think people would normally use it for landscape, but my plan is to use it for street photography and for whatever I want. I think you can use whatever lens you want for most kinds of things. And I get it that some lenses are more suitable for some kind of photography, but I think there are possibilities in wide-angle street photography with this lens. But yeah, let's try it out for some landscape and for some macro photography. All right, guys, that's it. Now it's time to climb all the way down. Okay, so that was an eventful and tough hike, but it was fun. And it was fun to try something different. But now we're gonna see how this lens that is not made for street photography at all does street photography. Let's take a look. Sometimes we stick to the same thing we always do, like only landscape or only street and so on. But I think if you do a specific genre of photography, it's good to try something completely different. And then you can mix them up in your specialty. So if I do a lot of street photography, but if I study a lot more landscape, then I can use that landscape skills for my street photography, I think. Pardon, amigo, ¿puedo tomar tu foto?
My pleasure, my son.
Perdón, ¿puedo tomar una foto? ¿A la eso? Ojo, sí, 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 exactamente.
Y mira acá.
Perfecto, muchas gracias. Buen día. Tengo una pregunta, ¿puedo tomar una foto? ¿Es tu hijo? Hola, amigo.
Hola.
Mucho gusto. One thing the wide angle lens is probably the most fun lens to use is when photographing dogs. And we're here in Mexico City at the big park where all the dogs are out, and I'll show you what I mean by it. And before we continue, I would like to thank my sponsor, which is Skillshare. And as you guys know, Skillshare has a lot of different classes for creatives and a lot of photography classes. And the class that I would like to highlight in this video is a class by a guy called Porter Yates about how to become better at framing your photos and how to understand and improve your composition. Two things that are so basic, so fundamental, but so difficult to master. In Porter's class, he talks a lot about how you can improve your composition by focusing on the background, the foreground, and your subject as one complete image and not just one or the other, which is something I'm guilty of myself as well. And I put a link in the description to Porter's Skillshare class, so the first 1,000 people who sign up using my link will get a free trial to a Skillshare Premium membership. Wide angle lens, they're usually used for like landscape, long exposure, and for architectural, and for people who need to photograph apartments and make them look a lot bigger than they actually are, because this like lens distortion make everything look a little bigger than it actually is. Oh, and one last thing people use this lens for is for video. So if you have a small studio, then having a wide angle lens will make your studio seem a lot bigger. And that's what I've used it for in the past. Perdón, ¿es posible tú? ¿Tú en tu mano? Ajá. Y con aquí. Ajá, sí, exactamente, gracias. Muchas gracias. This camera is getting so dusted right now, it's crazy. Also, this lens is water resistant. And it can take some beatings, so that's a bonus. With any like wide angle lens, it seems like you need to be really close or really far away in order for a photo to make sense. Like a landscape photo, you want to be really far away so you can get everything. But if you're gonna take a photo of like a subject, like a dog or a person, you need to be so close. So it's tricky, especially with dogs. Hola. Oh, muy cerca, muy cerca. Okay, this was a lot of fun, and it's always good to photograph things that you care about. And I really like dogs, but if you're into motorsport or if you're into ballet or whatever, it's always good to photograph things that you care about, because then it's gonna be more fun. reason why I bought this lens and not the other alternative, which there are, is simple. The reason is that this is a prime lens, and all of my lenses, if you follow my channel, they are prime lenses. So I have this one, and I have the 35 and the 56mm. All of them are like 1.2 or 1.4 in aperture. And that matters a lot to me because I would like to not be limited by dark or low light situations. And I would much rather have 3 or 4 lenses that I really like than like 8 average lenses. So that is the reason why I picked this one. But before I picked that one, I also looked at the 16mm 2.8, which is basically the same as this one, just cheaper and with an aperture of 2.8 instead of 1.4. But it's $400 I think, and this one is $1,000. So if you're on a budget, that makes sense. The other one that I thought about buying, and that's on the complete different scale in the budget, that is the 8 to 16mm 2.8. And that is such an extremely wide angle lens, and it's not a prime lens, so it's a zoom lens. I couldn't see any benefit from having an ultra wide angle lens at the cost of aperture of 2.8 instead of 1.4. And then it's $2,000, which is twice as much as I paid for this one. So we have the 400, we have the 1,000, and then we have 2,000. But I thought this was in the mid-range and it was doing what I needed it to do, if that makes any sense. That's it for my wide angle photography video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you haven't subscribed, remember to do, because next video will be a special one. And yeah, you'll see. Until next time.